A Year with God, Day 96. The reading for today is out of Isaiah chapter 29, verses 13 and 14. It's a challenging, confronting reading. It says this, the Lord speaking, He says, "These people draw near to me with their mouths and honor me with their lips, while their hearts are far from me. Their worship of me is a human commandment learned by rote." I think this is something that should challenge all of us. I know sometimes, as in our tradition, where it's not heavily liturgical, we tend to look at this and point to more liturgical aspects of worship and say, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about worship that is memorized, is learned, is repeated. I don't think that's what he's talking about here. I think those of us from a more spontaneous, a more free-flowing background in worship are very often just as guilty of this, sometimes maybe even more so, and that might just be a little harsh of me because I'm from that particular type of background. But I think we are very often just as guilty of this, in that we go through the motions, we sing our songs, and yet our heart is far from God. I've commented several times that it seems as we're going through this, as I'm looking to operationalize the term of worship, the Bible says very, very little sometimes about the method of worship. This is how you should worship. And when it does, it tends to focus more on the festivals and the sacrifices, the holy days. It tends to focus on those things. But it does spend a fair amount of time talking about who it is that we should worship, when it is that we should worship, and in this case, not necessarily the method of our worship, but rather the focus of our worship. That when we approach times of worshiping God, it needs to be with our hearts focused on God, and not just going through the motions. The emphasis seems to be not on the method of our worship, but on the focus of our hearts as we approach God in worship. So that was my thoughts on day 96.